You're watching ESPN's Feast Week presented by Lowe's. Welcome to paradise, literally. Paradise Island in the Bahamas, and we've got a busy day of basketball for you. Bill Self and the Kansas Jayhawks in the house, the defending national champs, to kick off this tournament here, and they will take on NC State as we bring you the Bad Boy Mowers battle for Atlantis. The NC State Wolfpack, a perfect 4-0. Same story for number 3 Kansas as we get ready. A busy day indeed. The first of 4 later on. It'll be Wisconsin and Dayton and BYU and USC. And on the other side of the bracket, Butler against a very good Tennessee team. And welcome courtside, everybody. John Shambi and the man, Jimmy Dykes, as we bring you college basketball here today from the Bahamas. This should be a fun tournament. A lot of talent here.
Yeah, a couple of ranked teams, but I think there's 4 or 5 that'll find their way into that NCAA tournament come March. The defending national champions, the Kansas Jayhawks, step on the court, and Bill Self on the sidelines for the first time. They lost a lot. They got 2 All-Big 12 guys back, a lot of raw talent, and arguably the best coach in the college game in Bill Self.
Yeah, Hall of Famer. He's won the national championship twice. His lineup features Jalen Wilson, one of the most versatile players in all of college basketball.
Yeah, Boog, there's no one in the college game that's off to a better start than this kid. Averaging right at 24.5 points a game and 9 boards. He's driving the ball. He's shooting a 3 ball at a 33% clip, continuing to develop that outside jump shot. But he is a beast at taking the ball to the basket, and he's working his tail off on both ends. He's really rebounding terrifically, especially on the defensive boards, man. He's got 30 defensive boards through 4 games. And Bill Self has been phenomenal at developing players. Jalen Wilson has benefited tremendously in that program. And on the other side today, this kid, Terquavian Smith, Baby T, I think he's going to lead the ACC in scoring. He is a point getter, bucket getter waiting to happen. He's a thin kid, about 6'4". Would have been probably a late first-round draft pick had he stayed in that draft, but man, he's got a green light, shooting about 15 or 16 shots per game. Hard to guard, skinny mini, 0 in white. This is a guy that Kansas is going to have to focus on for 40 minutes.
And he's already had a game where he's played 40 minutes against Campbell as we get ready for basketball here in the Bahamas. Our officials, Tony Padilla, Bert Smith, Todd Austin. Tony Padilla set to throw it up. Mohorcic and KJ Adams set to jump. Kansas in the white, NC State in the red. And Kansas controls as Wagner picks it up. I should say Harris picks it up. Juwan Harris, the outstanding point guard for Kansas. He's the guy that leads their attack.
Well, he's one of the best point guards in the country. Crazy that he's not on the initial Cousy Award list. He'll work his way on there. Kansas traditionally, they score on the 3rd side of the floor. Terrific ball side-to-side team.
Shot clock winding down. This is Grady Dick. Harris being harassed, and it's a shot clock violation. And so a good start defensively for NC State.
I don't believe the ball ever got to the paint. NC State's so good at smothering the first possession.
All right, let's take a look at our starting lineups brought to you by Atlantis. Smith, Joyner, Clark, Mohorcic, and Morcell, the transfer from UVA. Smith, the give off. And Joyner hangs, can't hit. And there's Wilson. He not only will rebound, Jimmy, but he'll also bring the ball up the floor.
Yeah, he ignites that Kansas run game. Not as good as you could ask for from a guy at that 4 position.
Adams, a little strong. Mohorcic the rebound.
The problem Kansas has in this game is NC State has 2 dynamic guards in scoring, and Terquavian Smith and Jarkel Joyner. And Juwan Harris can't guard both of them.
Harris to the corner, and the Texas Tech transfer, Kevin McCullough. Outstanding player, really good defender. Wilson inside, and it won't go. Smith will try a 3. Morcell looking for some help. Mohorcic, and now the handoff. Morcell fading away. Foul on the floor, and they'll get Jalen Wilson with that one.
There's a lot of one-on-one offense by NC State. They get you chasing sometimes instead of guarding, and that's a problem. Can you stay in front of the ball on Joyner and Terquavian Smith? Has to be number 1A concern for Bill Self early.
right side, and Jack Clark buries it. So NC State off to the lead. And now Harris. This guy has a sensational basketball IQ, gets his teammates involved.
Bill Self told me yesterday, he said, I would not trade my point guard for any point guard in the country. I mean, this is a guy that led you to a national championship. Not a great scorer, but does everything so well.
And he finds the big guy, Adams, on the lob.
That empty side ball screen, naked corner action, just frees Adams up. No one plays harder for the Jayhawks than 24 in white.
The lob for the defensive lineman, right?
Absolutely.
Smith, mishandle for a second, little short. Wilson, and they're on the go. Foul line jumper in and out. And now a fight for the loose ball. Possession arrow, and it belongs to NC State.
Now KJ Adams, he's going to set that side ball screen. There's no one in the corner, so he's going to roll from a naked corner. The help doesn't rotate over quick enough. The pass was perfect. This kid's only 6'7", but his motor is absolutely relentless on both ends of the floor. A physical screener, hard roller, and just fights you when the ball's on the glass.
He's a sophomore. He was a big-time recruit, top 50 in the ESPN 100. KJ Adams. Mahorcic sets the screen. Now Morcell trying to feed the post and does. Mahorcic hit the side of the backboard. Morcell aggressively to the basket, and he gets fouled.
Can you defend NC State without fouling? Adams does a good job of leveling up and getting his chest right into Mahorcic on the first shot. But their ability, talking about NC State, to take you off the bounce, Kansas has to have an answer for. Kansas, I think there's only 2 teams in the country so far getting fewer percentage of their points from the free throw line. Kansas doesn't have a fallible offensive game so far. Bill talked about that with me in the locker room about an hour ago. They've got to get more aggressive driving the ball because they're against a very aggressive driving team today.
Certainly makes it challenging if you're not going to get to the line. He does not have the prototypical big that he's used to playing with, whether you're talking about Azubuike or McCormick. Pick up ahead, Adams into the front court. And now Harris will set things up. Slashes into the paint, the scoop wouldn't go.
NC State down the action, and Harris read it well, just did everything but make the layup. That's a charge.
Bert Smith on to call an offensive foul on NC State's top player, Terquavion Smith.
You know, there's not a better defensive point guard in the country than DeJuan Harris. And Terquavion Smith has to understand this is a different level of defender than he's gone up against so far in his career.
DeJuan Harris is listed, Jimmy, at 6'1", 175, but Harris with a super long wingspan, and that's one of the things that makes him so challenging defensively.
Yeah, he's quick, he's tough, he's smart. He embraces the hard parts of the game on the defensive end. Not a lot of kids do. Wow, what a move.
Adams with the follow and throws it down off the McCullough miss, and he's got 4 early.
Yeah, I talked about he's also a hyper athlete, but his motor never shuts off. Every missed shot is a play call for 24 in white.
And DeJuan Harris, the interception for a steal. I don't know that Grady Dick has gotten a touch yet in the early going, but Kansas trailing 5-4. Offensive glass, Jimmy Dykes. KJ Adams with the throwdown. And Kansas trails by a point. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Bad Boy Mowers. Builds a better mower. Mow with an attitude. Atlantis, Paradise Island, Bahamas at heart. And Complete Sports Management. See the world through our eyes. Mention Bill Self And the Kansas Jayhawks, the defending national champs, down a point for Coach Self. This is actually his first game of the year on the sideline. A school-imposed 4-game suspension. I asked Coach Self, okay, so how'd you like watching the games on TV?
Yeah, it's been weird. I don't like it, but certainly understand it. And the first couple of games were fairly comfortable. The third game wasn't comfortable at all, and the fourth game was not comfortable at all. So I'd much prefer being out there. Now I know why fans get so nervous, is because they have no control. At least as a coach, when you're there, you think you got just a little bit, even though you don't have much.
Well, there he is, a Hall of Famer, another national title last year.
He has not lost his fire. I was on the staff with Bill Self back in the late 80s at Oklahoma State under Eddie Sutton, and he was a fiery guy then and just as fiery now. There's no complacency. He called Grady Dick out in practice yesterday and said, "You're not listening, you don't understand what we're doing, just go run for a while." And that's that competitive fire that Bill Self has always had and has not wavered from.
Harris finds Dick, and that three will go.
He shoots it as well as anybody, not only in the freshman class, but in college ball. He's all of 6'8". The release is repeatable and pure.
Smith will hoist and a hit. He led the ACC in threes last year. He was the first freshman to do that since J.J. Redick.
And Boog, if you're Kansas, he's going to take and make some hard shots. You can't get your dauber down. You got to play through it. The key is don't foul his hard shots and compound the problem.
Harris handling here. Finds Grady Dick. And Terquavion Smith the other way. Morcell. And Dick the rebound. Adams, little shake and bake. Shot was blocked there by Burns.
Now Burns is a big body guy that Adams went right at in the middle third of the floor, but Burns held his own.
Burns got good position, couldn't hit the shot. Here's Wilson.
Where Burns struggles, talking about 30 in red, is in ball screen defense. And right away, boom, Bill Self goes to it.
Good hands by Burns.
Once again, Burns protecting the front of the rim.
Joyner pulls up and hits. At NC State, the lead is 3. First 2 for Jarkel Joyner.
Those two kids now, Joyner and Smith, are hard to guard. Classic hard to guard guards with a green light.
Joyner, the transfer from Ole Miss. Wilson off the mark. Right for the loose ball. McCullough able to pull it down. And a foul on NC State. Meanwhile, head coach for the Wolfpack, Kevin Keats, his 6th year. Last season was disappointing. A school record 21 losses. They have not made the NCAA tournament since 2018.
Only 11 wins last year, 14 wins 2 years ago. It feels like, and most likely is, a really big year for Kevin Keats. Wow, can this guy get it off?
Jimmy, my shooting video is not coming out anytime soon, but I've read where what makes him so hard to stop is he doesn't dip when he receives the pass to shoot. It stays up, so it's hard to block.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's open when the defense closing out from 2 feet, where most guys need that 4-foot cushion. That's the difference in a Grady Dick jump shot. Got to stay in front of the ball, don't you?
Dick, another opportunity. Gets another! Grady Dick with 9.
That's the example of it right there. I mean, he caught it, and the defense was done a great job of a defensive closeout. Still able to get vision of the rim and let it fly.
Morcell answers with a 3.
Morcell was just a 20% three-point guy at Virginia, but has really put in the work and the effort now with the confidence of those other two guards, and you just jump up and stick it on you.
Pettiford trying for the lob, couldn't connect with Uday. Morcell slips down, finds Burns. Big fella backing down on Uday, tries to kick opposite, Harris steals.
It's 5-on-4. Burns still not at the timeline.
Uday can't convert, Wilson saves.
Corner jumper.
Up and under Jalen Wilson for two.
I like the play by Wilson. I said corner jumper because it was open, but he didn't settle for the deep three. He makes the play out of the corner, and that's why Wilson leads his Kansas Jayhawk team in free throw attempts on the year so far.
First two of the day for Jalen Wilson. And a foul on Kansas. Break in the action, tied at 15 here in the Bahamas.
Well, there are guys that can make guarded shots, and there are guys that can really make guarded shots, and Grady Dick is at the top of that list. That release and rotation result is as good as we have in the college game. Jalen Wilson again. His player development under Bill Self, this is a star in the making.
Back here in the Bahamas, tied at 15. Jimmy Dyke's good friends out there getting some work in. Always got to visit the Dolphins. How about Grady Dick so far?
Well, he's been tremendous. I mean, this is a kid with a 40-inch vertical. He's much more than a shooter. First of all, he plays hard. That's the first thing that jumps off the film with this kid. In constant movement as a shooter. He's active defensively. Not afraid to get in there and scrap on the boards as well. But he's a phenomenal talent in that freshman class.
And we asked Bill Self directly, how good is he?
He's the best young shooter I've been around. I haven't been around a better young shooter ever. And we've had some good ones. But Ochai became that. Svi was that, but he kept developing. Grady in 4 games has already basically made 2-game winners. And you just don't see that very often for a freshman. So yeah, he's terrific and terrific shooting the ball, and his game will continue to grow and expand as he gets a little bit older. But I don't want him to be defined as a shooter, and he doesn't either. But right now, when it leaves his hand, it looks pretty good.
That's for Dean. And an air ball out of bounds for Quavion Smith. Mom and Dad taking it in. And Carmen actually played at Iowa State. She's a good player. I asked Grady Dick, who's your favorite player as a kid? Or I should say, I asked who's your favorite player, and he said Mom. I love that.
What an answer, huh?
Yeah.
And she taught him well. Obviously, you don't shoot the ball like that unless you were taught the fundamentals as a youngster.
Pass, kicks off to Morcell, who buries a 3.
Well, his shot is so much better in an NC State uniform than it was his first couple of years. Big physical defender in that 3 spot. It's an NC State team now brewed with athletes. They are difficult to stay in front of with some one-on-one dudes.
Pettiford has it rejected. The 2 little guys in the game, Pettiford and Yesufu.
They may get some more run because of the matchup that Smith and Jarkel Joyner throws at it. Now, Smith checks out, so this NC State offense, the ball should be shared a little bit more.
Also, this time of year, 3 games in 3 days, and teams trying to figure out their rotation. Shot clock winding down. Dick from way downtown. Got another!
That is ridiculous in a good way. Been a long time since I've seen a true freshman with that ability to make guarded shots from distance like 4 in white. He is special.
Horchich bodying up inside. Wilson had the rebound pulled away by Morcell in the basket.
If you are NC State, you've seen enough of Grady Dick catch and shoot. He has to put that ball on the floor in these next 3 or 4 minutes if you're NC State.
Wilson inside, almost the and one. He'll go to the line and shoot 2.
So Casey Morcell just gets in here and battles and rips it away from Jalen Wilson. He's kind of the afterthought when you start breaking down this NC State squad. You start with Smith and Joyner. This kid just makes winning plays. For Kevin Keats, he's the kind of guy, but it's just hard to take him off the floor.
He's got 10 in the early going. That last foul on the big guy, Dusan Mahorcic. Morcell will grab a seat. Good start for Casey Morcell. Wilson gets the second. NC State by a point. Wilson will sit. McCullough checks back in. Got choppy Jimmy Dykes here in the Bahamas from the Atlantis. And a turnover on NC State, their fourth. Kind of careless there.
Well, I talked about the ball pressure that Yesufu and Pettiford can bring into this ball game. And Yesufu that time just, Bill Self is an Eddie Sutton guy like I am. You don't sit in a stance and guard your yard and impact that ball as an on-ball defender. You don't get to play, and a really good job by Yesufu.
Harris had the pass deflected. Adams inside. Offensive foul. First foul on KJ Adams.
And that's the only play that Smith could make as a defender because he's outsized on that low block. But a good job, Adams. Just you can go to a defender, but not through the defender. And that's an easy call.
5 turnovers on Kansas. Joyner looking for some space. Trying to find Mahorcic. Instead, it's Clark.
Step out of bounds. Good job by Todd Austin on that baseline as an official to have depth and make sure he doesn't get the play crowded. Otherwise, they miss that call.
Yesufu into the front court. Had it ripped away. Smith flips it up a little bit strong, gets the rebound. And now Dick the other way. They're 3 on 2. Dick will try. Bam. He's got 15 points on 5 three-pointers. Harris on Terquavion Smith. Mahorcic off the feed. Left hand is good.
He's a rugged kid. Yeah, Mahorcic is a rugged kid. He plays the game with not a chip on his shoulder, but a chip on both shoulders. Not a big scorer, but when the game becomes a wrestling match, he's going to be right in the middle of it.
Dick has a shot blocked this time. McCullough will track it down.
Short clock, got to get it up.
McCullough hoists and hits.
Tremendous awareness by McCullough. That ball became a loose ball scramble, and he immediately got his eyes on the shot clock. A big basket for the Jayhawks.
And a big smile it produced on Bill Self.
Well, that was just a hustle play, a work ethic play.
Clark, little strong. That one tipped out. NC State playing good basketball here in this first half. Mahorcic backing down on Adams. A little bit strong. McCullough the rebound.
Adams is undersized, but his heart takes over on those tight plays. He refuses to give in to that Mahorcic back down.
Step back for McCullough wouldn't go. Smith, step back, rattles it in. Terquavion Smith.
Man, he is confident, is he not? But again, he's going to make some of those tough shots. Got to play through it. Don't foul his bad ones. Make him work through everything.
Yesufu, a little pull up. It might have been deflected. Foul on Yesufu, his first. We're tied at 25.
And the impact, though, of Grady Dick in this ball game, a catch-and-shoot specialist, but he's much more than a shooter. Does a really good job of surveying the play in transition. You got to get on that kid another 3 or 4 steps higher. And McCullough with the late clock hustle play that rewards Bill Self with a big smile. What a ball game early in Atlantis. Sebastian, I want you to know that this is the highlight of my trip every time I get to spend time with you. I know, 22 years you've been alive and got a couple of babies back there. Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, congratulations on being a dad, a recent dad. But anyways, I love spending my time with you, man. I can't wait for you to watch the games, and good luck with your game against the Seals this year right after Thanksgiving. Always great. Always great to spend time with you, buddy. Always great. And remember to brush your teeth every now and then.
Back here courtside, John Shambi, Jimmy Dykes. How did he take it when you told him to brush his teeth?
He and I are like this.
Yeah.
I mean, his closest friends call him Sibo.
Yeah.
And that's the type of relationship that he and I have. But that's a big 500-pound dude, man. I love seeing my guy Sebastian and his love for life. And
yeah.
The trainers talked about how joyful he is every day. And there's a lot to learn from a sea lion named Sebastian, because that guy is.
No, a quality performer. You put up with the zoo breath. That's what it is.
And he's coachable, very coachable on camera.
That's ripped away. McCullough, I think he hurt his hand. Yeah, he's in some pain.
He's grabbing a finger on that right shooting hand, trying to shake it off.
McCullough inside, off the glass, wouldn't go. And a rebound ripped down by Ejiofor. Tony Padilla saying, hold on. Something happened with the clock.
It must be because it's on 19 on the shot clock. That's where McCullough gets his hand stung. I think the issue is on the other end with the offensive rebound by the Jayhawks.
I think they're checking to see, if the shot hit the rim. So Bert Smith on the right, Tony Padilla on the left.
I don't think it hit the rim, did it?
Well, we have a second. Let's check out our bracket over there in Maui. Championship game coming up. Number 10, great. They look good. They'll take on Arizona, and friends of the program, Dan Schulman and Jay Billis, will be on the call. We got a Banaka reference from Billis last night. They stopped using Banaka in like 1984, Billis.
Man, what massive games last night out there in Maui. That Creighton, Arkansas game was a classic. You had 2 point guards that absolutely went at it. And Ryan Nembhard has just jumped up as in terms of one of the best point guards in the country after that performance. Anthony Blackkid from Arkansas right there with him. And Ryan Nembhard went for 25, 6, and 5, and Anthony Black had 26, 6, and 6.
What a start for Grady Dick. 5 of 7 from 3 at 15 points. NC State's knocked down 5 threes as a team. So what do they come up with here? 5:19 to go here, first half. Tied at 25 apiece. Kevin Keats' team acquitting themselves nicely. Still to come, it will be Wisconsin and Dayton.
That shot, the first shot by McCullough did not hit the rim. So they recognized it, and run the time down, and Kansas will have 3 seconds on a side out of bounds to get a shot up. Sometimes it's not the first shot, it's the second shot in a situation like this.
Wilson catch, shoot, hit. Man, he's got 6.
You know, with 3 seconds to go, simple is best. And that was just a simple pop play for Jalen Wilson. At 6'8", can also take and make a guarded shot. Really well done by Bill Self.
Wilson rebounds the miss. Here come the Jayhawks. 5 rebounds for Jalen Wilson. Inside. Wilson couldn't hit. Burns got it.
He has a tremendously soft touch. Now, once he's on the floor for about 3.5 or 4 minutes, his conditioning becomes a negative for NC State. And he's got a beautiful set of paws around that rim on the offensive end.
Harris wanders into the paint. The lob wouldn't fall as Ejiofor couldn't corral it and throw it down.
Kansas guards have thrown some crazy passes in the first 16 minutes of this game.
Burns off the mark. Harris pulls it down. 2-on-2. Now 3-on-3, and Wilson puts it in.
What a beautiful read by DeJuan Harris, because he could have shifted gears and got out in front of Wilson and made really no play to happen. Controlled his pace, controlled his speed, and let Wilson get into the pass lane.
Clark. Shot clock at 6, puts it up. McCullough rebounds. McCullough a guard, but a brilliant rebounder. Harris got it. That is not what he is known for, but he's been working on that shot. Great defender, distributor, first 3 points of the game. Kansas' biggest lead of the game. It is 6. Timeout, NC State. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Lowe's. It's the best place to get everything you need for the holidays.
Jeff Fonson, Coach, the Jeep halftime report is on the way. Coming up, we'll look back at 2 tremendous games in Maui and preview Creighton, Arizona, the championship game. Fonson, it appears NC State needs to find Grady Dick defensively.
No question about it. He's got 15 of Kansas's 33 points. Seth in the half, all 7 of his shots from the three-point line.
If you're NC State and you're playing Kansas, you're playing 5 4-minute games in the first half. They're in the last 4-minute game. This is a really important last 3 minutes for NC State. They got to get stops. They got to be solid. And they got to have good offensive possession. Will you coach Sebo up a little bit?
Hey, Coach, he is a load on that low block. If he establishes position, you are not moving Sebo.
Porcel to give off Smith, a little short, and it ends up with McCullough.
NC State shooting 35% from the floor in this game. Their shot selection now could really factor in, as Coach talked about, this last 2:30 of the first half. They better be good.
Wilson in and out. Burns rebounds the miss. Here comes NC State. Give off to Terquavion Smith, and he gets fouled. They get Ejiofor with that one.
You know, Burns is skilled enough for a big body guy to play at that high post position and run some offense through him, and that time is a hard backdoor cut that Grady Dick just gets lost on, and Terquavion Smith is the most important guy on the floor. He is your MIG, as I talked about in the Gonzaga game. The most important guy for Kansas is zero in red.
Smith last year averaged 16 points a game at a career high 34 at North Carolina. He's got 7 here today.
%60 of NC State's possessions this year have been full court pressure. And they try to wear you down with numbers and get into you, speed you up. Kansas has handled it so far so well.
Last year, defense was the problem for NC State. They allowed the most points per game in the ACC. They struggled at times. To the corner, Dick.
And could not get defensive rebounds. Was just as important for NC State last year as well. You can't finish off that possession. It's tough to win tough games.
McCullough rebounds the miss. Here come the Jayhawks. Off to his buddy Wilson. Loose ball, Terquavion Smith. Smith up ahead. Inside, scoops it up and in. Oh my goodness, what a move. He's got 10.
The acrobatic, twisting layups that this kid makes is really something special. And he actually makes a pretty high percentage at the rim considering how tough they are.
And that shot blocked as Clark got a piece of it from behind, and then they get the block on NC State.
Yeah, I think that secondary defender was inside that restricted arc. And Terquavion Smith, though, he's such a thin kid. He doesn't need much space at all, Boog, to kind of slither through and get the ball up on the rim. He has great body control and really, really good eyes in traffic. Watched 3 or 4 games of him already this year. He can take a hit for a skinny kid, but his eyes now, they really stay locked in, as big-time scorers understand.
Well, for Kevin Keats, the offense will run through Terquavion Smith all year long. Jalen Wilson with 9. Kansas, the lead is 3. We close in at a minute to go first half. First of 4 here in the Bahamas. John Shambi, Jimmy Dykes, a battle for Atlantis. Brought to you by Bad Boy Mowers. Harris up ahead, wide open. KJ Adams the throwdown.
What a play by DeJuan Harris though on the backside as a defender. Just read the eyes of where Smith was going to take the ball and just ate it up to ignite the break.
About 11 seconds of difference. Shot clock to game clock and an offensive foul.
There's not a better point guard defensively in the college game. Coach Keats saying it was a flop, but DeJuan Harris, enough contact there for him to hit the deck. That's the play I'm talking about. Just ate up that vision of Smith and was on top of the play, and then the bigs of Kansas always well schooled to rim run, and Harris makes him pay for the mistake.
Second charge that DeJuan Harris has drawn. Remember, DeJuan Harris, it's interesting as Kevin Keats pleads his case with Tony Padilla, but DeJuan Harris was a guy who was originally signed with Missouri State, struggled a little bit in terms of grades. The connection, though, was, remember, Christian Brown is now in the NBA with the Nuggets. Well, it was Brown who ended up kind of connecting DeJuan Harris with Kansas. So those two guys really good friends. All right, Phil Knight Legacy. The men's bracket coming up. Quarterfinals on Thursday. Duke, Oregon State, Florida, Xavier, the Mountaineers and the Boilermakers, and then Gonzaga and Portland State.
Boog, to your point, DeJuan Harris changed the national championship game last year when Kansas was down, 16 points at the half. And Bill Self told him, you're going to flip this game with your ball pressure. And man, did he flip it. And that's the value of a kid that just knows how to win.
Five-point advantage. And McCullough handling here.
Kansas, don't turn it over. Take the last shot of half. Give yourself a chance for an offensive glass opportunity, though.
Adams is looking for the back cut from Grady Dick. Harris. Dick from way deep. Got another! Holy cow!
Wow!
18 first half points for Grady Dick. Harmon loving it.
People back in The great state of Kansas are hugging folks they don't even know. We got us a Grady Dick and you don't. Man, the shot of this kid, Boog, it is absolutely perfection. Not much of a dip. Can make guarded shots, and Juwan Harris with the awareness of finding. And that's my boy. Wow, what a half.
6 first-half three-pointers. Kansas, an 8-point advantage at the break. We send it back to the studio. Kevin Connors, Bonds, and Coach.
Yeah, Boog, lunchtime hoops, and man, oh man, is it being played at a high level in the second half. Jeep halftime report. LaFonso Ellis, Coach Seth Greenberg, Kevin Connors here. This is a quarterfinal game. I mean, NC State, Kansas could be an Elite Eight game by the end of the season here. Grady Dick, 6 pointers in the first half. Fonz, what dimension does he give this Kansas team?
He's a 50% three-point shooter, and so you have to always know.
Today.
6 or 8 threes in this one. 50% coming into the game. And because of his ability to be able to stick it, Seth, now it opens up driving lanes for Kansas. And when you're guarding him, you have to decide, do you want to leave him? This is one that he knocked down in transition. You have to suck in a little bit to try to take away dribble penetration. And when you do, he knocks it down. And that's what makes him so special, is when he has a smaller guy guarding him, he can shoot it over the top because he's got such a high release point, and in transition, you must pick him up early. What a lethal weapon they have from the three. Seth, one point about North Carolina State is they can't continue to shoot it from three. They've got to attack. Kansas doesn't have any rim protection.
They got to pick their spots. But Grady Dick, he's not, everyone talks about him as a shooter. He's a basketball player. Sure. He's not just shooting. He does a great job of getting into open windows, freeing himself up. He can put it on the floor in transition, pull up and shoot the three. He does a great job as a cutter off the ball. But I'll tell you the guy we don't talk about enough is Juwan Harris. Juwan Harris, he is not a good defender. He's an elite defender. He's a disruptive defender. He's a disruptive defender on the ball and off the basketball. And you've got to be really aware of where he is. And then offensively, he'll give himself up to make a play for someone else. Like Grady Dick's getting a lot of those jumpers on a little bit of dribble penetration. You turn your head, he moves to an open area, boom. Juwan Harris is a huge part of this Kansas success story.
Casey Morsell, a big first half for NC State, who trails by 8 at the half.
This halftime report is presented by Jeep. There's only one.
Something to watch in the second half. Will someone get a man on Grady Dick?
That is a hard contested shot. That dude is making big-time shots. That's a pretty good closeout. State, drive the basketball. First 4 minutes of the second half is going to be huge.
This halftime report is presented by Jeep. There's only one.
Cat Fonz and Coach looking at the bracket in Atlantis. Dayton dynamic. They have an NBA big in Deron Holmes. They get a stingy Wisconsin team next. Josiah, Jordan James, and Tennessee and Butler have at it later tonight. And Fonz, that first half for Grady Dick, making us think about Jeff Boschee back in 2000.
Wow, how about that? Seth, that dude can flat out shoot the basketball. 6'8", high release point, makes it very difficult to challenge his shots.
Does a great job of getting to open windows, making himself available, shot ready, gets behind the ball, jumps up, seeing a big basket. You got to run him off that three-point line, make him put the ball down on the ground. That's the mantra for NC State second half.
Get out in this open floor, Terquavian Smith and the Wolfpack need to do it. Down 8 at the break. Second half is next. This has been the Jeep Halftime Report.
You're watching ESPN's Feast Week presented by Lowe's, and we bring you the Bad Boy Mowers Battle for Atlantis. At the break, it's number 3 Kansas leading NC State 39-31. And welcome courtside. John Shambi and Jimmy Dykes. The three-point shot was a big factor, specifically Grady Dick in that first half.
Wow, 6 out of 9 for the three-point line was Grady Dick. I haven't seen a better shooting performance in a long time than what we saw from this kid in the first half. And not to be surprised, this is who he is. And he can make him from all positions on the court as he works his way around that three-point line. But his ability to get the shot off when the defense is really in pretty good position is very impressive. Now, you can't let him just easy transition yourself into one if you're NC State. Then he takes a hard guarded shot at the end of the half. But look at that Kansas team right now, their ability to find Grady Dick. You know what? He plays hard, and he's not afraid. Can't say that a lot of freshmen.
All right, let's take a look at our first half stats, and they're brought to you by Complete Sports Management. Field goal percentage, NC State just at 35%. We mentioned the three-point shot was huge, 9 of 14 for Kansas. Points off turnovers was big.
It was. Kansas so good at running off of their defensive stops, and when they get that ball turned over. At NC State, 35%. They probably took 4, maybe 5 shots. You're like, I don't think we needed that one. They got to have a better understanding of the value of that shot selection in this game in the second 20. Kansas defended without fouling, Boog. NC State never got to the one-on-one. That's not easy to do against a team like the Wolfpack that tries to beat you off the bounce.
Lob attempt. And inside, that one was halfway down for Adams. Dick tried to save it, kick up ahead. Is Tony Padilla saying 2 shots there as the foul is on Kansas? Yep.
You know, Bill Self doesn't have that true post player like he's had in the past, but he does try to begin the second half by throwing the ball inside and establishing a post game. And this Joyner kid now, we didn't call his name a lot in the first half, but I had him several times over the last couple of years at Ole Miss. Has really developed into a vocal leader. And those are old guards. Marcel to Quavian with a ton of minutes under his belt, and Jarkel Joyner to deal with.
Marcel gets the second. He's got a dozen. The lead for Kansas is 6. Now there's that pressure from NC State.
NC State wants to speed the game up and get it scrambled. That's kind of how they've had their best offense so far in this game, where the game has become kind of that unsettled, that pass.
Horchich does a nice job stepping into lane. Marcel a 3. Gets it to go. 15 for Casey Marcel, the UVA transfer. Wilson wide open. And Wilson steals it back. Dick will try. Wilson lost the handle, slips down. NC State the other way. Joyner probing, fading, and misses. KJ Adams the rebound. Back and forth we go.
Bill Self just trying to calm the game down right now. This is not freelance offense on this possession. He's gone to a set play.
Juwan Harris into the paint. Tried for that lob again, but Adams wasn't there. Marcel wide open. Got it, and we're tied.
What a start for NC State in the second half. And they have been very aggressive. Kansas with a costly turnover. But Casey Marcel says, you can't forget about me as well. That's the problem you have when you play NC State. They got 3 guards that are all capable of knocking down 20 on you. Kansas has to match that now. With 18 minutes to go in this ball game, NC State Wolfpack go pack back in it.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Lowe's. It's the best place to get everything you need for the holidays. And a look at some past tournament MVPs, including DeAndre Hunter and last year's tournament MVP, James Akinjo from Baylor. What a start for Grady Dick, 6 3-pointers, 18 points overall. And we come to you from Paradise Island in the Bahamas. Tournament started for the men in 2011, for the women in 2020. And last year it was Baylor winning it all on the men's side, beating Michigan.
A lot of value in these regular season tournaments when you consider 9 out of the last 11 national champions won a regular season tournament the year they won the national title. That's what's at stake at Maui later on, and Bill Self out of timeout. He gets Adams isolated and lets him drive the heck out of the basketball on the right side.
KJ Adams with 8. And Kansas back in front. Clark looking to feed the post, and they get the foul, I believe, on KJ Adams. If it is, it'll be his 3rd.
Well, Adams just pinned from behind and just gets too active with his hands with a little bit of a hold on Mahorcic.
Big guys banging down low there. On the baseline, the jumper is good from Jarkel Joyner. He's got 7. Zubi Ejiofor getting set to check in. No, I beg your pardon. Ernest Uday about to check in. Ernest Uday Jr. about to check in for Adams.
You know, you get surprised from a coaching staff on a baseline out of bounds play early in the season because you haven't seen them all. But that's just a simple play and a simple read by Joyner. His guy, Harris, got pinned on the inside, and then it becomes a foot race to the corner that Joyner wins.
Harris knocks down the first free throw. Devon had 14 in the win over Southern Utah. That game was a little too close for comfort for Bill Self's liking as he watched that on TV.
Now, Bill will be the first to tell you, though, that Juwan Harris is the heart, the soul, the pulse beat of his team. Now, he said it in the first half. There's some smack action in the backcourt by NC State, tries to knock Harris off the ball. Bill Self wouldn't trade his point guard for any in the country, and that's how a head coach should feel about your lead guard.
And that one rattles out. Mahorcic in close, and he just could not finish.
Yeah, he's just a horse, but he doesn't have that finish-off ability around the rim, what you'd like from a guy his size, because he's shooting a lot of 3- and 4-foot shots so far this year. They're not finding the bottom of the net.
Mahorcic, who transferred from Utah. Joyner looking, launches, it's a 2.
He got a mismatch, Joyner did, when Uday had to switch off out of that ice down action defensively. Really good patience by Joyner to attack, back it out, see that he had the mismatch, rise and fire.
Off the bounce, Grady Dick's shot wouldn't go, but Jalen Wilson, offensive rebound. McCullough, and the lead is 3. He's got 6 points on a couple of 3-pointers. Clark will try.
Kansas in that 1 through 4 position can play with anybody in the country. McCullough right now being the 3 or the 4 guy, but that lineup of Dick, Wilson, and McCullough, all 6'7", 6'8", man, that is hard to handle. And Bill Self has a national title point guard. The post play is going to develop for the Jayhawks.
Cool look right there. The Aquarium Tunnel at the Atlantis. A reminder tonight, another great NBA Wednesday doubleheader for you. We start in Boston as the Celtics host Luka and the Mavs, 7:30 Eastern. And then it is off to the Chase Center for Steph and the Warriors taking on the Clippers. Coverage tips off with NBA Countdown at 7 on ESPN and the app. And some Kansas connections in the nightcap. Marcus Morris and Andrew Wiggins, a couple of guys that thrived under Bill Self.
Boog, no team has put more non-5-star guys out of high school into the NBA over the last 15 years than Bill Self in Kansas. And he just has a knack to find those guys that want to buy in, work their tails off, make steps from year to year to year. And before you know it, guys like Ochai Agbaji, Udoka Azubuike, Ben McLemore, Christian Brown, Devontae Graham, they come out as not on everybody's national radar, and they leave that program as really good NBA players. And no one develops players better than Bill and his staff.
McCullough with 8.7 rebounds. At Kansas, the lead is 5.
Harris disrupting that offensive possession, denying Jarkel Joyner on the ball reversal.
Joyner hangs, can't hit. Rebound, Morcell.
Grady Dick just got whipped on the glass by his guy Morcell.
Inside, good look, Burns the bucket.
We talked about it in the first half. Worth bringing up again. You've got to stay in front of the ball if you're Kansas. You've got oversized guys guarding some smaller, quicker guards from NC State. It is a severe challenge right now for the Jayhawks.
Wilson trying to turn the corner. Out of bounds, it'll stay Kansas basketball.
Luke, here's what I'm talking about. You got Jalen Wilson guarding the 6'3" Morcell, and Burns just sitting there in that dunker's position with the easy give.
So Harris to inbound. Kansas leads it by 3. And Wilson gets fouled. They got Burns on that one. Indeed they did. And that'll be number 2 on DJ Burns, the transfer from Winthrop. And I wonder if that's just a cramp situation for Quavion Smith. Smith, their top scorer, their best player, preseason first team All ACC. So timeout of the court, Kansas leading by 3. John Chumby, Jimmy Dykes here in the Bahamas. The Bad Boy Mowers battle for Atlantis.
That is good news for the Wolfpack. Might be able to see what happens here up top. I think he got kneed. Yeah, I think he got kneed in the thigh, probably, is what looked like it happened. If this has ever happened to you before, man, that thing will pound away at you for a couple of minutes.
Yep.
Expect him to be back.
Jalen Wilson at the line as Smith grabs a seat with that bump he took on the quad.
He is electric, and Kevin Keats has a guy that he knows if NC State just stays within reach. About 2 minutes to go, he's got a shot maker that can really make it difficult on Kansas. He is the wild card in this entire tournament in terms of a guy that can just go get his own.
Wilson 1 out of 2, 10.7 rebounds and a couple of assists for Jalen Wilson. Way deep and off the mark for Ernest Ross.
Good job by Kansas to down the ball screen and then drop out of it and not let them get that middle roll.
Harris flips it up, wouldn't go.
And the college game, analytically, that'll tell you that's the toughest shot to take. It's only made about 37% of the time over the last 3 years in the college game. That 10 to 12 foot floater, tough.
Burns spins and is rejected, but they get a foul underneath on Kansas.
They said McCullough got him on the way up because Uday certainly got all ball. Wasn't that on McCullough?
Pretty sure.
Watch right. There's no contact. I know McCullough swiped down at it, which will lead your eyes as an official to think. I don't think McCullough ever hit him. From McCullough's reaction,
maybe a little
bit. A little on the elbow, maybe. Either way, Burns is much quicker than his body would make you think. His hips and his feet and his shoulder spin, very difficult to stay in front of and not give that guy an angle.
NC State showing a lot of poise here in this one against a very good Kansas team. Oh, look at that. The save by McCullough, and he ends up finding Uday for his first 2 of the game.
Just like you draw it up, not. This is a crazy pass up the sidelines. And Kansas just throws it blindly back into play, and Uday's there for the easy 2.
And they just teed up Kevin Keats. Dick knocks down the first free throw. He's got 19. Make it 20.
Again, this is a hard pass by Harris to try to make it the sidelines. Way too much distance trying to attack that outside third in your press breaker, but Uday, right place, right time. And Kevin Keats said something that immediately got the attention of the officials. I wonder if Kevin thought that Wilson was out of bounds when he saved the ball. It's something, he barked at something on point.
For Quavion Smith making his way to the scorer's table to check back in. NC State down by 6. Pass with Wilson on him. And that's a shot clock violation.
What tremendous one-on-one defense by Jalen Wilson, who's 6'8", guarding a guy that's 6 feet. But you know what? He kept his feet squared, his hips squared, never opened up and gave pass an angle. And at some points in the ball game, you've just got to win your man-to-man assignment, and Wilson just won his.
With Joyner on him. Wilson is fouled, and Jalen Wilson will go to the line. This is the first of 4 games on the day here from the Bahamas. That last foul on DJ Burns is 3rd. Still to come, it'll be Wisconsin and Dayton. That is up next, and BYU and USC, and Butler will take on Tennessee, the final game of the day. The championship will come your way at 7:30 on Friday on ESPN.
A big stage for Dayton here the next 3 days, not only for them, but for the A-10. And Dayton's got a kid, Deron Holmes, if you haven't seen him, 6'10", 240, A-10 Defensive Player of the Year last year, but this is a very important week for Dayton if they're going to be in consideration for an at-large berth if it doesn't go their way in their tournament. I believe they only have one more power conference team scheduled on their schedule after they leave the island.
Holmes is the Rookie of the Year in the league, and he is a player. A 6-0 Kansas run, the lead is 8. Burns down. Shot clock at 9. Burns into the paint, off the glass and in.
Wow, he's so patient, but so strong. I mean, there's nothing quick at all about what he just did. Just overpowered Uday, who's not easy to overpower.
Batterford finds Wilson. Left hand at the basket. It's out of bounds. And it'll be North Carolina State basketball. A substitution. Uday will sit down, and Ejiofor will check in.
There's another high-energy big that Bill Self has on the bench to go to. And he's just trying to hold his own at that 5 spot until they develop over the next couple of months, because, like I said, his 1 through 4 position is as good as anybody in the country.
Burns again backing down. And a jumper off the mark. Rebound for Jalen Wilson. He's got 8 rebounds.
Not a great shot by Burns. I mean, it's an isolation, but it took him a day and a half to back down. Then he ends up taking a fadeaway tough two.
Pettiford. Grady Dick got fouled. It'll be 3 free throws for Grady Dick. Well, when we come back, we'll talk to Quavian Smith. He got charged with the foul. We'll touch on his leadership and impact in scoring the basketball when we return. Quavian Smith, one of the best scorers in the entire ACC. Last year led the league in three-pointers, and Smith with 10 so far here today. And we asked about his leadership on this NC State team.
I have a very important voice to my team just because the draft process, I went to the draft process, so that's what a lot of guys want to do. So they kind of look at me, I'm the leading scorer, other things like that. So me being a high energy guy and being a leader has been a lot for us.
He thought about going to the NBA, but instead chose to come back. Been late first round, something along those lines.
Yeah, I think the feedback was that he needed to add some weight and some strength, and he still does. He's a really thin kid. He's explosive. He's got that extra gear that you look for, but can he run a ball club? Because he's not the typical, two-guard size for the NBA. He's about 6'3", and he's taken 12 shots in this game. He's only made 3 of them. Bill Self always dials in on who's their guy, and he does all he can to take you out. And so far today, the Jayhawks have done a good job on Quavian, but really a pleasure to get to know that kid. He absolutely loves ball. That's the first thing you look for in a guy that wants to be great.
The lead is 9, biggest lead of the game. Smith to step through and puts it in.
Yeah, he's got an uncommon knack to find a crease and make shots around the rim. Boog off the wrong foot, the wrong hand. It's very difficult to get to his shot because he's unorthodox once he gets around that rim. It's a foul.
Ross fouling Pettiford.
Why are you fouling 40 feet from the rim? What I'm talking about with Quavian. Adams does a pretty good job for an undersized post trying to stay in front of the ball, but Quavian he also has that high dribble, which a lot of times equates to a guy that'll turn it over in traffic, but he has a really good control over his high dribble with bodies around him.
Feed down low, step back, and Grady Dick missing the shot. Rebound Morcell. Joyner from the free throw line. And that rattles home. Darkel Joyner with 10.
Grady Dick and McCullough got confused on their switch. Just enough to give Joyner an angle to start that drive on Grady Dick.
McCullough gets his shot blocked, but he's fouled. And McCullough will go to the line and shoot 2.
Luke, here's what I'm talking about. Just a little bit of hesitation. Watch right here. Do I have him? Do you have him? Whoop. And there you go. Now you've got a bad angle on the closeout, and Jarkel Joyner is so good at that mid-range pull-up. You have to talk early, loud, and constant, continually, if you're going to be switching any type of action in college basketball. And Dick and McCullough that time didn't do either of the 3.
That's me and you. We can relate to that, talking early, loud, and constant, right? Both of us.
We can?
Yeah.
What a way to end up our week, huh? We start in Spokane and end up in Atlantis. No one traveled further than us, by the way, right?
That's right. Inside, Smith off the glass, and he's fouled. We got teams coming from all over the place. USC, BYU, but yeah, Jimmy and Boog, Spokane to Nassau, we got you all beat. NC State only 744 miles, but yeah, a lot of teams had to go a long way. That last foul in McCullough And that is number 2. As Terquavion Smith knocks it down.
I know you agree we'd do it all over again.
Yeah,
to see through Timmy in front of 12,000 Zag fans on Sunday night, and just how he completely controlled the game and dominated the game, and how Gonzaga played off of him. Mark Hughes got himself a special team once again. Kansas just cannot get that double-figure separation.
Good back cut, Pettiford. Adams found him, but Pettiford not able to put it in. Clark. And McCullough has it. McCullough 8 rebounds. Pettiford puts it in.
Just drove it right up the backside of NC State. I mean, Burns was at the front of the rim, but he was turned away from the basketball and never saw it. What a great read and speed by Pettiford.
Yeah, he is quick. Smith inside, and McCullough saying, I blocked it. Instead, they get him with a foul. That will be his 3rd.
Watch Pettiford in transition, man. You tell your lead guard or your guy with the ball, win the race to the elbow. And watch what Pettiford does. Get that ball to the elbow quickly. Now read it. Bam, and right there, Burns is turned around, doesn't recognize and find the play quick enough. And run-out points by Kansas starting to pile up in this game.
Pettiford last season, this year was cut short. Had season-ending abdominal surgery in February. One thing that has allowed NC State to stick around in this game, they've knocked down their free throws. They're 11 for 11 from the line. Now 12 for 12. That one just handed to me by our stat guru, Mike Swanson.
So you know it's correct, first of all, and it's going to be relevant to what we're talking about. Speaking of free throws, Kansas with 15 made free throws in this game. They've been averaging less than 7 makes per game. So that's good news for Bill's offense in terms of more aggressive, hard, determined drives with the ball.
Into the front court as Adams has it. And they'll give off to Pettiford.
And it gives Kansas 15 seconds to work with on the shot clock because of it.
Juwan Harris. Try to find McCullough. Shot clock winding down. And that's a turnover. 11th turnover on the Jayhawks. Kansas by 4 as we close in on the 8-minute mark. John Shambi and Jimmy Dykes. It's the Bad Boy Mowers battle for Atlantis. First of 4 here today.
Got him.
And Terquavion Smith hangs and hits.
What is the action right now that Kevin has gone to? He's screening the screener that sets the ball screen and getting Terquavion Smith downhill with terrific efficiency.
McCullough in and out with a 3. NC State can tie with a 2, take the lead with a 3. And Joyner is fouled. He'll go to the line.
The concern for Bill Self as we head into timeout is guarding the basketball. The speed of NC State starting to show up. Smith in the middle third of the floor off that screen the screener ball screen action has become lethal.
(61-59) with 7:42 to go. We talked about Grady Dick earlier. Cool story. He got to move into his dorm, and when he went in there in the dresser, there was a special message from who?
Ochai Baji. I opened the drawer. That was the only thing in the room. So, I mean, I obviously had to go to it. Open the drawer, and then it's just the autographed picture of him. So, you know, my first thought, I'm like, I mean, thanks, Ochai, for the autograph. But then I pick it up, obviously. I look at it, turn it upside down, and it says, whoever owns this room, you know, be great. And then it kind of, you know, just took my breath away a little. I mean, not to, you know, be super, you know, deep with it, but at the same time, you see what he did last year, winning a whole national championship, MVP of the tournament, and, you know, where he's at now.
I'm sorry, but that's pretty cool. And Mom and Dad were there as well. He goes into the room, he opens the dresser drawer, and that card and that note are waiting for him. It's pretty special.
I think it's uncommon is what it is, because that tells you those Kansas players have tremendous 100% ownership of the Kansas program. They don't just use a program, they invest their lives in it, and they're lifetime Jayhawks because of it. And that's one of the cooler things I've heard in college basketball in a long time. It's like the former president leaving a note for the next president. And that speaks to Kansas basketball about as well as anything I've heard. And what a ball game, huh?
Ninth tie, 61 apiece. Pretty good start to our hoop stick.
Kansas had a chance to push this thing out to 9-10 point lead and just never could get it done.
Harris wandered into the lane and got fouled.
You know what makes that middle ball screen lob action for Kansas different this year? I love Adams, but he's only 6'7".
Yep.
So it's a little more difficult to throw it to him than it is a guy like McCormick at 6'11". Can just go get a high pass above anyone else.
And I think we've seen that play out already today, where they've tried to find him, but you have Mahorcic in the way, and he's 6'10".
Yeah, it becomes a size play at the end of that middle ball screen.
I mean, they love to run that high-low lob action with two bigs back in the day when they had the Morris twins.
This year, you're going to see a lot of four-game out of Kansas. 4 guys around one. Really playing with 4 guards on the floor is what Bill's doing.
Clark from the elbow. And that'll go. And we're tied back up at 63. 5 for Jack Clark.
There's always been great shooters rims here in Atlantis. Really good shot fake by Clark to get both feet stuck back on the floor as a shooter.
That's a nice move by Jalen Wilson. 14 for Wilson. Out of bounds, it'll stay NC State basketball.
Jalen Wilson with the ball on his right side of his body as a driver is very difficult, and it will be all season long in the Big 12. His strength and his explosiveness for a guy 6'8" is really special.
Smith here finds Mahorcic, had it knocked away. Up ahead, Grady Dick had it knocked out of bounds, and it'll be Kansas basketball.
And recovery defense, though, by Adams saved what was going to be an automatic 2. Because he got beat, and this is at the end of the play where a good job by Morcell to come in with hot hands and save the easy 2, but the play on the other end by Adams was special.
Jimmy, 6:38 to go. One thing to keep in mind, this end of the court, Terquavion Smith has 4 fouls. Dick from the corner.
So can you drive at Terquavion Smith? He's guarding Dick right now as a shooter. Kevin keeps saying Dick is the least likely to drive the ball.
Inside with the post move, it wouldn't go. And Mahorcic, the biggest guy, pulls it down. Morcell for the lead. Kansas on the move. Adams pulls down the rebound. And now the left hand is good for Jalen Wilson. He has 16.
And the assist in Bill Self's mind will go to Adams for the hustle play to run down the loose ball.
Mahorcic grabs the miss. Offensive rebound, and he puts it back up and in.
What a start to the battle for Atlantis. Phenomenal big-time games it felt like last night in Maui. We take it from them with a noon local time start. The Jayhawks and the Wolfpack going blow for blow. Stick around.
Back here in the Bahamas. And NC State hanging around. They trail it by 2. Leading scorers in this one. Grady Dick, a sensational first half. And he had 18 points in that first half, 23 leading all scorers. Smith and Morcell each with 18 for the Wolfpack. Kansas leading by 2 at the basketball.
Smith on the bench with 4, and Kevin trying to go a little bit of a defensive, offensive substitution here, most likely. Comes out of that timeout.
Ball ends up with Harris, and that rolls home as he pumps his fist. 9 for DeJuan Harris.
That play kind of sums him up. And just what does it take for us to win this game? That's the #1 responsibility of a point guard. What's it take for me today to win this game? And Harris just made maybe one of those plays.
Scoop shot wouldn't go, tip. Grady Dick scoops it up ahead. And then the pass deflected, and it'll be Kansas basketball.
On the other end, Boog, Adams took a shot to the throat of the mouth area just now, coming back to where on the ball end of the floor.
McCullough to inbound for Kansas, 4:41 to go.
Boy, Smith has his hands full guarding Grady Dick with 4 fouls.
There's Grady Dick. And he's gone a little bit cold here in the second half.
And a good job by Smith to close out to the shot side of Dick's body.
And Joyner able to knock that one down. It's a 2-point game. Jarkel Joyner with a dozen. Harris flips it over Mahorcic, had the big guy on his hip.
What a smooth play out of the slot by DeJuan Harris. Bills run his 4-game offense. Then those guards play out the slots and having shooters tucked in the corner, and it just opens up a lot of space for Harris.
It's our under 4 timeout. Kansas leads by that many, 4. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Bad Boy Mowers. Builds a better mower. Mow with an attitude. Atlantis, Paradise Island, Bahamas at heart. And Movement, the cleanest watches in the game. Back here in the Bahamas, Kansas leading by 4. What you got, Jimmy Dykes?
Well, it was a big basket by DeJuan Harris, and Bill Self puts his guards in the slot up top. So Harris has this opportunity right here, right down that slot is where he's going to drive that basketball. And you got 2 corners tucked away and 2 shooters in both corners. And now DeJuan Harris starts in the slot but goes to the other side of the floor, and just too much for Mahorcic to catch up to. Simple offense, 4-on-1. The one guy being Adams, who moves out of the way of the drive, gets DeJuan Harris freed up at the rim.
So 4-point game. Terquavion Smith will go to the line and shoot 2. He's perfect from the line. NC State overall 14 of 14 from the free throw stripe. Smith just 5 for 15 from the floor, but he's got 18, make it 19.
You know the press is coming. Kansas has handled it well. 9 out of 10 possessions in this game. You got to have 3 options, and you cannot be careless with the basketball. That's a big miss because that press can't get set up like Kevin wants it to get.
3-point game. Just about 3.5 to go. Wilson inside, hangs, and that one rolls off. He'll shoot 2.
Boog, simple is so good in a close game. That was simple offense. All it was a hard pin down by Adams and getting Wilson to his right hand. He comes off of the pin down, and now the game is in his hands because the ball's on his right side, and he's driving down between the pipe.
Wilson 5 for 8 from the line. Burns will check back in for Mahorcic. Kansas 17 of 22 from the free throw line.
So they have gotten the Jayhawks 10, make it 11 more points from the free throw line than they've been averaging. That's growth within the Kansas offense that Bill Self wanted in this game.
Joyner going to work at the basket. Burns the rebound. The putback wouldn't go, but the big guy is fouled. And DJ Burns, the transfer graduate from Winthrop, will go to the line, and that will be foul number 4. Did they get Adams on that?
I believe so. I mean, Adams fouled him, I think. But there's still value in the game of basketball of a guard that can just get the ball up on the rim. Because now you get Kansas in that defensive rotation, and you can't come down and clamp off Burns on that backside, and he gets to the line because of it.
Strong in the first. DJ Burns giving him good minutes. 8 points here in this one. And 5 rebounds. Missed them both.
What I say in the Gonzaga-Kentucky game, make your layups, make your free throws.
Baseline feed. Dick, left-handed layup will go.
That is special stuff. We can talk all you want about how hard and violent the cut was by Grady Dick, and it was, but the pass was to perfection by DeJuan Harris.
Grady Dick had 23 points in his college debut against Omaha. He's got 25 in this one, so a new career high. Tipped out Wilson up ahead of the pack. Wilson absorbs the contact. The basket will not count.
The previous possession, Boog, is really special basketball. I mean, Harris drives it right at Grady Dick. That's not a scoring drive threat by Harris right here. He knows exactly what he's looking for. And Grady Dick, the timing of the cut is to perfection. If he goes too early, his head's under the rim, he's covered up in traffic. If he's too late, that opening is not there. That's a simple play that's very difficult to pull off.
I think the question for Kansas becomes, what are they going to get from their bigs? But even when they run a smaller lineup out there with what Wilson and McCullough can do in terms of the ability to handle and rebound,
yes,
there's a versatility to their team offensively that's pretty special.
It absolutely is. Bill Self just trying to hold his own at that 5 position with a combination of guys until they and he can figure it out. And a little bit of separation by the Jayhawks now with 2:26 to go.
Timeout NC State. The lead is 8. The first half belonged to Grady Dick as he had 6 3-pointers, Jimmy.
Well, he's so much more than a shooter, but by golly, he is that. He can absolutely shoot it with the best in the country. And he won't be in that Kansas Jayhawk uniform long, in my estimation. He's too good of a player, but Terquavian Smith has also done his part for NC State by making a lot of tough twos and driving the basketball as well. The game far from over, but it feels like for the first time, Kansas has a little bit of separation to play with.
All right, still to come. Our next game will be Wisconsin and Dayton. Lots of red in the building.
What is that stretch? What is that stretch?
That's just
scratch your. What are we doing?
You're itchy. Yeah.
I've out of all my times in athletics, I've never seen that stretch before a game. But now that I'm doing it courtside, it feels pretty good.
There you go.
What was that?
I don't know. Terquavian Smith. Harris on him. Harris, those long arms. Shot clock is under 10. Morcell from way deep. Fight for the loose ball, and Jalen Wilson Gets it to Grady Dick. That's a heck of a board from Jalen Wilson.
And that was all DeJuan Harris's defensive possession. McQuavian Smith had every move in the book, danced with the ball, and could never get by DeJuan Harris. It was a hard fall on DeJuan Harris's left ankle from behind.
Get the foul on Adams. That will be his 5th. And DeJuan Harris limping a little bit.
Watch it in right here. Just kind of falls on that left ankle from behind. Does Jarkel Joyner.
So KJ Adams done, 8 points, 5 rebounds. He is fouled out.
Boog, the game right now is can you stay in front of the ball? Jarkel Joyner and Smith. If you're Kansas, stay in that stance and be heavy gap protection.
Joyner, step back, wouldn't fall. And a foul on NC State. Wolfpack has gone 240 without a field goal.
The Jayhawks made it very difficult for Joyner to get to the rim. He got a piece of the paint, but he took a tough 2 on the left side. Kansas went really heavy in their gap protection, saying if you're going to make one, it's going to be with bodies around you. Well done.
The last foul on Jack Clark, his 3rd. McCullough with 1:33 to go. The Texas Tech transfer missing that one. He and Jalen Wilson played AAU ball together. They've known each other since they were about 16. Good friends, competed hard against one another when McCullough was at Tech. I asked Jalen Wilson what was the sales pitch to get him here. He said, if you want to win a national title, come here.
Pretty good one, isn't it?
Nice and simple. Left hand. And Jarkel Joyner will go to the line and shoot 2. The lead is 9, 1:26 to go. And the foul is number 2 on Pettiford.
Now these days, players recruit players as much as coaches recruit players. That story about McCullough and Jalen Wilson.
Joyner gets the first. I mean, you can see on certain nights how NC State's going to be a handful to stop, right?
Oh, no question. I mean, they're, preseason picked 10th, I believe, in the ACC. There's no way that's going to happen. Those guards are too explosive. They've gone blow for blow with a Kansas team that I wouldn't say be one of the favorites right now to win the national championship, but come March, they just might be in that conversation again.
Harris with the bigger Clark on him. McCullough. Harris rejects the screen, flips it up. Wilson the rebound. And they go possession arrow, and it belongs to NC State.
Again, Harris making a play out of the slot. Jalen Wilson went and got a grown man strong 2-hand rebound. I don't think Marcel had it tied up enough to be a jump ball myself, but doesn't matter, play on.
Under a minute to go, Joyner. And the foul is on Pettiford. That'll be his 3rd.
Bill Self is wearing the officials out on the last 2 calls. I mean, Pettiford's in legal guarding position. I think maybe felt like Tony Padilla that Pettiford got 2 hands on the dribbler, and that's an automatic. The front hand on the front of the jersey, the backhand on the back.
17 now for Jarkel Joyner. Knocked down all 5 of his free throws. NC State's been great from the line, 18 of 21 as a team. Short that time.
They can't make the second one to get their press set up. It's hurt them bad in the last 2.5 minutes.
Good look right there. A little give and go as Pettiford finds Harris. And DeJuan Harris with 13. McCullough rebounds. His 9th rebound. Bill Self yelling, hold it. And they foul DeJuan Harris. An 8-point Jayhawk advantage. And now for today's player of the game, brought to you by Bad Boy Mowers. Grady Dick, a new career high, 25. He knocked down 6 3-pointers. All of those in the first half. And had himself a really nice afternoon. Grady Dick, our player of the game.
Well, he's been a bad man at the Bad Boy Mowers is what he's been. That first half shooting was a clinic by Grady Dick, and he's much more than a shooter. Really hard, violent cut out of the corner a few minutes ago. Gave Kansas a big basket. He fights his tail off as a defender. And he's going to be known as a shooter and all that stuff across the nation over the next few months. That kid plays hard. That's the first thing that jumps out the tape. Forget about the shot making of this guy. He plays his tail off on both ends. A fierce competitor inside that Kansas uniform.
Juan Harris at the line. He's got 14, 11 this half, and 6 assists overall. I was mentioning his size. He's only 6'1", but he's got the wingspan of a guy 6'6", and I think that factors in his impact in the defensive end.
And the size of his Valentine, as Eddie Sutton used to say when Bill Self and I coached with him at Oklahoma State, you cannot measure.
Morcell fires, got it. And Morcell with 21, but that is going to do it. 80-74 the final. Bill Self's team able to knock off a game NC State group. The Wolfpack hung around. All right, so first game in the books and a peek at our bracket. Kansas awaits the winner of our next game between Wisconsin and Dayton. Still to come, it'll be BYU and USC, and then number 22 Tennessee will take on Butler. Again, our final here in the Bahamas, Kansas over NC State, 80-74. For my partner Jimmy Dykes, I'm John Chomby. So long from Atlantis. Up next, it's college basketball live scoreboard.
All right, Boog, thanks very much. America meet Grady Dick. Grady Dick meet America. Performance by the Kansas freshman, LaFonso Ellis, Coach Seth Greenberg, Kevin Connors here in studio. Fonz, you made a point about Kansas. What is it about them that seems to take away teams' will towards the end of games?
They're just relentless. I was saying to you and Seth, is just when, defensively, you have a tendency to just kind of relax for a moment. You can't do it against Kansas because they just keep coming at you. And I think that pace kind of overwhelms teams, Seth. It's kind of an accumulative effect over time. And then in the last 2 minutes of the game, then you start to fade defensively. You start to relax and make mistakes. They back cut you, and they really take advantage of you in that phase of the game.
Floor gamers and playmakers all over the floor. All right, so they're coming at it literally in waves. They got the court spread. Every single guy they advance past, that guy can make a play, and then they don't stand. They flow right into what they're doing offensively. So if you turn your head, boom, backdoor, it's a layup. If you get out of a stance, dribble penetration, kick it, second penetration, kick out, open three. They play a game basically a little bit differently than everyone else today because they play in flow. They play with 4 and 5 out. They move the ball doesn't get stuck. And Grady Dick can make a lot of shots.
He sure did. Boy, what a game. 25 points. And, Coach, you made a great point about DeJuan Harris. What is it about Harris that maybe makes him the key to this Kansas team?
Well, you talk about winning player. How do you define a winning player? A guy that can make plays offensively, defensively. A guy that makes the game easier for other people. A guy that gets 50-50 balls. A guy that finds a way to impact the game on both ends. And right here, he's making an impact scoring. Nice runner right there, right down the lane. But what he does defensively is absolutely incredible. And then watch it. Boom, great cut. Defender turns his head. That's Kansas basketball right there. You turn your head, boom, he's going to back cut and get in front of you. A play he made towards the end of the game, dropping the dime to Grady Dick. Gets in middle penetration. Obviously, Grady Dick's man turns his head. Dick goes backdoor. And between those two guys, and like Grady Dick to me is a guy, he's not a shooter. He's a great shooter. But he's a better basketball player because he can play with the ball. He can play, obviously, spotting up in transition of penetration, but he is a terrific cutter and has a ridiculously high basketball IQ off the ball, Fonz.
No question about it. And Seth, you know I love his high release because now all of a sudden you're closing out. Because he's 6'8", now all of a sudden you're closing out, you're down in the stands. He's just shooting it right over the top of your face, and you have no chance at challenging that shot. Look at him here as he gets in transition. That's pretty decent closeout by Morcell, but because he's so much shorter. And then I love this one. He gets a little shimmy shake, drops it down, and it's over the top. He gets it off quickly and cleanly. And then in transition, you can't back off of him. Too much room. He knocks down this three. And Seth, we've talked about their offense, but I'd like to talk just a little bit.
Bam.
What a beautiful read right there. And you mentioned the fact that he's a basketball player. Great understanding of where to be on the floor. But I don't think we take enough time to talk about a little bit about their defense, Seth. You and I have talked about them playing basically small ball this year with KJ Adams as the 5 at 6'8", 6'7". What that allows them to do defensively, they can switch 1 through 5. And KJ Adams is such a good athlete, he can keep a perimeter player in front. They're so good on both sides of the ball.
Let's give a little love to NC State. NC State played at a high-level game.
Yes.
They missed a couple free throws down the stretch. They couldn't get into the press. They had a shot in the middle of the lane, Burns, who misses it. But their backcourt is really good.
Yes.
Yeah. Terquavian Smith, he can get a bucket anytime he wants. Jarkel Jordan can defend and also make plays. Obviously, Casey Morcell shooting the ball really, really at a high level.
Seth, Casey Morcell is shooting the basketball 52%.
Better than Grady Dick. But the key to this NC State team is going to be those three guys, not offensively, because they're good offensive players. They have to defend. And they played a very good Kansas team because if they can defend at the point of attack, all of a sudden contain the basketball, run people off three. Because last year, they were a horrific defensive team. Right now, they're defending. They're more disruptive. They're playing with greater energy on the defensive end. Because if those guys play with energy on the defensive end, you know those guys up front that aren't getting the shots, they'll play with energy on the defensive end.
Seth, flipping back to Kansas for just one moment. The national champions last year, and everyone's saying, can they repeat this year? My main concern is they don't have a guy like a David McCormick that can throw the basketball inside to, that can bring some balance to that offense.
Now remember, David McCormick early in the season last year
struggled.
Wasn't David McCormick at the end of the season. So what are you going to do? You got to coach him up. You got to get Ernest Duda to the point where he can help you win games.